2000, a 2-year-old boy named James woke up screaming from the same nightmare every single night. But when his parents finally asked him what he was dreaming about, his answer broke the world of science. He didn't say monsters. He didn't say ghosts. He said, and I quote, "Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out." And then he told them his real name, a name that belonged to a man who had died in World War II, 60 years before James was even born. Welcome back to Wisdom Chronicles, where we uncover the world's most disturbing, untold mysteries. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button, because what you're about to hear has been investigated by neuroscientists, historians, the US Navy, and even a Pentagon research team. And to this day, no one has been able to explain it. This is the true case of James Leininger, a boy who remembered a life that ended 60 years before he was born. A boy whose memories were so specific, so detailed, and so verifiable, they forced even the most skeptical scientists to admit, we do not understand what happens when we die. The Leiningers were a normal American family from Louisiana. Bruce, the father, was a Christian executive who did not believe in reincarnation. Andrea, the mother, was a devoted Sunday school teacher. They had a healthy, happy son named James, and they had no reason to believe anything strange was happening in their home until James turned 2. That's when the nightmares began. It started subtly. James would fall asleep peacefully. Then, in the middle of the night, he'd begin thrashing violently in his crib, kicking, screaming, his tiny arms flailing as if trying to break free of something invisible. And every single time, he screamed the same 3 phrases. Airplane crash, plane on fire, little man can't get out. Andrea would rush in, hold him, whisper prayers over him. But the nightmares continued, every night, for weeks, and then he began to speak. James began describing things a 2-year-old could not possibly know. He talked about flying a plane called a Corsair. He said it took off from a ship called the Natoma. He said his best friend was named Jack Larson. And when his parents asked him how he died, James looked at them and said, "The Japanese shot me down." Bruce, his father, was disturbed but skeptical. James had never seen a war movie. He had no exposure to World War II. There was no way this child could know these things. So Bruce did what any rational father would do. He decided to prove his son wrong. And that's where the story takes a turn. Bruce spent months searching military records, war archives, and Navy databases. He wanted to disprove his son's memories once and for all, but every detail James had shared turned out to be real. There was a Corsair fighter plane, there was a ship called the USS Natoma Bay, and there was a pilot on that ship named Jack Larson. Everything his son said, every impossible detail, was matching real, documented history. And Bruce realized he wasn't disproving anything, he was confirming it. There was a WWII pilot named James Houston Jr. He flew a Corsair fighter plane. He was stationed on the USS Natoma Bay. His best friend was a pilot named Jack Larson. He was 21 years old when he flew his final mission over Iwo Jima, 6 decades before James Leininger was born. On March 3, 1945, during the Battle of Iwo Jima, his Corsair was hit by Japanese anti-aircraft fire. His plane caught fire, and he could not get out. He was 21 years old. Every detail matched what little James had been screaming in his nightmares. The plane on fire, the little man who couldn't get out, the Japanese who shot him down. Word for word, from a 2-year-old who could barely spell his own name. When Bruce and Andrea finally found James Houston Jr.'s still living sister, a woman in her 80s named Anne, they arranged a phone call. Little James, only 4 years old at the time, spoke to her. And what he said made her drop the phone. He remembered their childhood house. He remembered a painting on the wall. He remembered specific stories only she and her deceased brother could have known. Anne wept for hours. She said, "That's my brother. That's Jimmy's voice speaking through this child." The case eventually reached a child psychiatrist at the University of Virginia, one of the most respected researchers in the world on cases of past life memory. He had spent decades documenting over 2,500 similar cases from around the world, children with vivid memories of lives they could not possibly have known. But James Leininger's case was different. It was too specific, too documented, too impossible to explain away. In his official report, he wrote, "We must accept that these memories exist. What we cannot explain is how." In 2004, when James was 7, his family took him to a reunion of the USS Natoma Bay veterans, the men who had served with the real James Houston Jr., men now in their 80s. When little James walked into that room, elderly veterans stood frozen, because this 7-year-old boy walked up to them and called them by their nicknames. He remembered inside jokes from 1944. He knew which crewman had lost a finger in a training accident. One veteran later said, "I looked into that boy's eyes and I swear on my life, I was looking at Jimmy." Of course, skeptics immediately tried to debunk it. Some accused Bruce of coaching his son. Others said the memories were coincidences. But when the case was independently reviewed by military historians, they were forced to admit every detail James remembered matched declassified Navy records, records that had never been publicly released, records that no 2-year-old boy in Louisiana could have accessed. 50 skeptics tried to disprove it. Not one succeeded. To this day, no rational explanation exists, only questions. So is James Leininger's case proof of reincarnation? Or is there another explanation that science hasn't discovered yet? I want to hear what you think. Drop your theory in the comments. And if this story shook you, smash that like button and subscribe. Because Friday's story is even more disturbing. The true case of a woman who died on the operating table for 17 minutes and came back with a message from someone she had never met. Until then, remember, you may not be who you think you are. This was Wisdom Chronicles. The truth is stranger than we were told.